Hello, welcome back to Oracle DBA tutorial. In this tutorial, we are going to discuss about parameter files. So this is what we discussed in our last video, that this is what is an Oracle database server, which is consist of instance and database and data files. And then the files structures are of different types. And then these are the different types of files that we discussed in our last video. And then in this video, we are going to focus on parameter files. Okay, so what is a parameter? A parameter is a key value pair, right? So basically parameter is something like a key value pair, and then say for example one of the parameter is in database is called db underscore block underscore size, or some parameter is equal to say 8192. That means what I'm saying that I have a parameter, the name is db underscore block underscore size, and that value is 8 kilobyte. And another thing may be called db underscore name, and that value is xe. So this is called key, and this is the value for that parameter. So what we are doing, that a group of similar parameters put together in a file, and that file is called a parameter file. There are different kinds of parameter files. Okay, so let's say what we are discussing right now is types of parameter files. Okay, so I'm going to maybe the first parameter file is something related to the network. Okay, so that is called say tns names.ora. Okay, so this is a network file. So what tns names.ora suggests is that this file maps the net services names to connect descriptor, or in simple word, this suggests you that what is the alias name where we can connect to a database. Alright, then another file maybe you can talk about listener.ora. Listener.ora is a file which tells on which port my listener is going to run. Say for example, by default is always 1521, but you go to listener.ora, you change the listener.ora the port number to, basically there is a parameter called port is equal to 1521. Instead, if you say 1523, that means next time you are going to start your listener is going to listen on port 1523. Then another type of parameter is most important file is called database parameter file. Or this is historically known as init.ora. Okay, so init.ora or database parameter file consists the parameters that are required to start up the database. In this video, we are going to mostly concentrate on this database parameter file. So the database parameter file or init.ora is going to look like, say for example, this is a database instance I have. So let me just clear this thing, and then if I do ls, so my init.ora name is initxe.ora. So what is xe? Xe means this is the Oracle SID, or the site identifier. So if you do not know about site identifier, maybe it's a good time to explain you that before we proceed further. So SID or site identifier is a value, site identifier plus your Oracle home. So Oracle home means where you install your Oracle software. Okay, so that is your Oracle home. So in my case, my Oracle home is something like user/leave and all these things up to product 10.0/server. So what happens is that SID plus Oracle home together creates hash together to create a magic number or a unique key. That unique key is going to attach to the system global area, or SGA, system global area. Okay, so this unique key is attached to an SGA. If you for whatever reason, if you give a wrong SID or wrong Oracle home, if the environment variables are set to wrong values, then it may happen that you will say an error called Oracle is not available. The reason is that whatever unique key you are generating, that key is not able to attach to the system global area. Okay, so that's what it is. So basically, essentially, what I'm saying is that for your to start up something, you need an init and then that SID. In my case, my SID is XE. So therefore, I am seeing a file called init.xe.ora. So if you take a look at init.xe.ora, you are going to see some value like key value pair. Like for example, I'm saying my control files is equal to this value. Okay, and I'm saying that my DB name is XE. I'm saying that I have 20 sessions that is going to start. So essentially, what this parameter suggests how the instance is configured. Okay, so that means, like, for example, if you want to go to you know to create to build a house, so how many rooms you are going to make in the house, you know how is your roof is going to look like, so those kind of things. So that is essentially the parameters, right? So this is the parameters based on which you build a house. Similarly, these are the parameters. Init.xe.ora contains some values of some parameters which will determine how my Oracle instance is going to look like. Okay, so if that is what is understood, so then so this is how the these are the files. But you see that in these files we just only have maybe maybe at least maybe 10 to 15 parameters are there. But you say, are these enough? It may not be, because these are the default parameters. Exactly, actually you need three parameters. You just need three parameters to run your database server. Those parameters are your control file. So number one is control file, and number two parameter that you need is database block size, and number three parameters that we are going to need is database name. So if you have these three parameters, then all other parameters are either default or can be computed based on these parameters. Okay, so essentially another thing that I just want to tell you, that this is just a default installation of Oracle Express Edition. But in your production environment, you may see a lot of things are there, a lot of values are there, a lot of it's just very unlikely that your production edition is going to contain only these values. Okay, so this is how this init.ora, and as I told you, this is an historical file. This has some problem. So the first problem is that this init.ora, you can either basically this is required to start up the database. So how do you start up the database is like this, like you say start up, and then you give the parameter p file is equal to the file name of this init.xe, right? The init.xe.ora. So in that case, what I'm going to do, startup program is going to look at this file and then get the values of parameters and going to start the database. You can basically rename that init.xe to 1.ora, and then you can do p file is equal to 1.ora. So what is the problem here is that you are going to proliferate these files multiple times. So if that is the case, if there are multiple DBAs, they are going to start up, shut down the database, then there is a problem that sometime you may not have any hold of which files needs to be started. So that means what you are seeing is you are seeing multiple truths. There is no single truth here. That is one problem. The second problem is that this is a text editor file. That means I'm going to edit myself. So if I'm going to edit myself, I may make a mistake. Like instead of say session is equal to 20, I for whatever reason I say minus 20. So is there anything wrong with it? Because it's just a VI editor. I just save it and then it's saved. But it's going to give me the next time I'm going to start up my database, it's going to give me all this problem saying that database cannot start. Let's say I modified that one 3 months ago and I don't remember what things got modified, and maybe I modified multiple things, right? So therefore this is not, therefore this init.xe.ora has this two kind of problem. The problem is that there is no single source of truth. Second thing is that editing manually may cause manual errors. In order to handle those things, starting from Oracle 9i onwards, Oracle introduces another file called SPFILE. SPFILE is for server p file. So what this does, this you just have only one copy. only one copy. And second thing is that this is a binary file and you cannot modify using VI editor. Oracle modifies that. You have to, as a DBA, you have to give SQL commands to modify those things. We're going to show you some hands-on to explain those behaviors. Okay, so that is the reason why we come up with SPFILE. But in Oracle 9i, 10g, 11g on upwards, what you can do, you can still use the historical P file. There's nobody say that you cannot do that. Okay, so you can do historically the historical P file, but Oracle always recommends you to use SPFILE to 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 start up to database and to rely on only on the SPFILE. Okay, so now let's try to do some hands-on so that we can explain you what is really going on the background. So first I'm going to start my I connect to Oracle instance. So this is how do I do as sysdba. So I'm now connected to Oracle DB, and then let's say I want to see a parameter. The parameters are all stored in a dynamic performance table called $parameter. If I describe, so this is the file thing, and then I have all my parameters. What is all the parameters, default parameters, computed parameters, and non-default parameters. All those things are stored in this $parameter. And then how many of them are there? If I do select count $parameter, I get 258. So remember, whenever we saw this init.xc.ora, we just have only 10 to 15 parameters. Then how come there are 258 parameters in $parameter? The reason is there are a lot of parameters that are computed by default, computed, and then there are a lot of parameters that are set by default. Okay, so that is the story about $parameter. And let's say I want to see a parameter named SQL_trace. Okay, so if I want to see that, I can query to this $parameter, and I can do something like this: select value, select value from $parameter, where name is equal to SQL_trace. Okay, so SQL trace is equal to false. So my SQL trace is set to false. Okay, so here is another easy, instead of writing this select statement and all these things, Oracle gives you another simple way to just see the parameter. You so parameter SQL_trace. So this will give you a value called false. Okay, the same thing, either you do a parameter SQL trace or you write that query. Okay, so I would prefer to write small things like parameter SQL trace. Alright, so now the thing is that, okay, so you have this parameter SQL trace, I want to modify it. There are two ways to modify it. The first one, you go to the init.ora. If you have if you are relying on init.ora, you go to init.xc.ora and modify SQL trace is equal to true, and then restart the database. Okay, that is one case. Second case, that you cannot modify anything to SPFILE, right, manually, but by using alter system command. Say alter system and set SQL trace is equal to true, and we have something called a value called scope, extra clause called scope. We are going to discuss about that. So let's first modify that thing, and then we're going to discuss. So alter system, say I want to make SQL trace to true now. So alter system set SQL_trace is equal to true, then scope say is equal to I say memory. Okay, I just want to say why I'm doing in just 1 minute. Okay, alter systems, I think just have something wrong here. Alter system set is equal true. Scope. We don't have to give any quotes. Okay, you just have to give scope is equal to memory. So I change my parameter to true. How how do I know if it changed? If I do show SQL trace, it was before false. Now if I do, it should be true. So it is true. So this is why this is how I modified. So essentially what I'm doing by using this extra clause called scope is equal to memory, I am changing the SQL trace parameter in the memory. That means once, so let's try to understand this point. Let's say we start our database. So database started. Once database started, the database started with the default parameter, which was SQL trace is equal to false. And then when I say this true, I set that value true on the memory. That means until the next time, say for example, now DB is shut down. Okay, so I DB started, it was false, and then I give that alter system set SQL trace is equal to true scope memory. That means in for this, the SQL trace value is true right now. This is true until and unless as long as we are running the database. Let's say after some time I'm going to shut down the database, and after that when I start up again, SQL trace is set to false. Okay, so if the scope is memory, then the value of the parameter that we have changed is valid only for the scope of that for the running of the database. Once the instance is shutting down, then I'm going to have the default value. However, if I make instead of that scope memory, if I do scope is equal to SPFILE, in that case what I'm doing, I'm essentially storing this value DB SQL trace, the value of true, in my SPFILE. That means it is still false. Okay, it's still false. Next time I'm going to shut down, I'm going to restart the database. So that time the database is going to start with the value called true. Okay, so next time I'm going to start, this is going to start with the SQL trace value set to true. So therefore SQL trace is going to be set to true. If I do scope is equal to both, that means is right away it's going to change in the memory. That means the SQL trace is become true, and then in the SPFILE it is also recorded that the SQL trace is true. Therefore the next time I'm going to start the database is going to start with value of true. So this is what is your like how you are going to modify your SPFILE. Another thing you can do, you can create your P file from SPFILE by giving a command called create P file from SPFILE. In that case, the from the server file we are going to create a init.ora kind of file, which is we can read and we can also edit using VI editor. So this is all about your database parameter file, and it's the most important file that you can come across. And then another thing is that this can also get corrupted. So let's discuss about that, how you are going to deal with if your database file is corrupted. So let's take a look. Okay, so how to corrupted SPFILE. So there are two ways you can you can get back. Say for example, the SPFILE is corrupted and SPFILE is a binary file. Let's try to see what SPFILE contains. So if I do exit and then vi SPFILE.ora, the SPFILE contains some binary things and this thing, so you can modify this thing. However, what you can do, if you use a Unix command called strings, so strings SPFILE will give you the values here, whatever you're seeing here. So basically by using the command strings, you can get all those key value pairs, and then you store that one in another file called one.ora or some file, and then you start database using that file, and then once database is started, then you can recreate SPFILE from this P file. And number two is that whenever a database is started, all these non-default parameters are put into a file called alert.log. Okay, so in your alert.log if you go to this file, you should see whatever the non-default database parameter last time whenever the database was started was set to. Then you take those values, create your p file, say 2.ora right now, 2.ora, and then put those files and start the database using 2.ora. Then once you started this thing 2.ora, you can use the command create SPFILE from p file once the database is started. So that is how, if your database file is, if SPFILE is corrupted, you can work to get it back.